Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, plays Binding by AFTERBIRTH Plus. Basically, yesterday's run is so bad. It really was pretty terrible. I'll just go through the seed here first. VJ0C AHXX with money equals power, sprinkler, good damage, great rate of fire, adequate speed. This seems like an acceptable start to things here, as long as we don't take damage against this guy. I feel pretty good about our chances. But yeah, self-inflicted or not, yesterday's run was a little scary, and as a result we found ourselves in a position where we conceivably could have died. Instead, we came away with a victory that it leaves you thinking, like, why were you ever scared? You know, you got guppy and you were generating like an HP upgrade every 3 rooms, and it became kind of like a joke by the end of it. But why did we get 0.15 damage for picking up a penny? Normally, you receive 0.04 damage per penny, and this is like, I recognize that I might it strikes as incongruent with my personality. I tend not to be that detail oriented, but at the same time I'm like, we got like, to me it seemed like we got quadruple damage out of picking up a single penny. I'm trying to think, like, maybe we've smelted a trinket or something? By the way, Sprinkler is a really, really cool spacebar item that I have not given its adequate praise, I think. The better our damage gets, the better Sprinkler's gonna get, and it also picks up all of our tier effects, including, like, tier shape, tier size, obviously things like status effects as well, but, you know, if we get Brimstone homing tiers, all of a sudden we got, like, a Brimstone, and I believe homing, Sprinkler as well. That could be really, really strong for us. So I'm extremely pro Sprinkler when I can get it to pop, which is occasional. I'm just gonna head down. I want to keep as much money as possible because I want to. First off, money equals power is important to me in this situation. Secondly, if we can get an arcade, we can get even more money and possibly more HP, and use that to make our dreams work here. No, we don't have any other items, so I don't know what happened there. I was just confused. We have a library where we don't really get any benefit out of using Book of Shadows because we have no map, so we can't really see where anything is. I don't believe that it unveils like the actual entrance. It's just on the map it shows us where we should go, but I digress. Relatively irrelevant. What we're looking for here is just exactly what we just found. So with this and a little bit of tolerance in terms of the amount of spirit arts and demon arts we got here, I think we're sitting pretty. Like, this run is gonna potentially pop off. Like, if we get 20 cents, that's almost like picking up dark matter, more or less. So, I don't know. I think the stat screen, I'm not gonna say it's bugged, but I don't think it's working I don't think it's updating continuously with each pickup that we get. Yeah, okay. So it changes based on each penny that we get. Some of them are 0.06. The nickel was like 0.14. Maybe, here's what I'm thinking happened. Maybe there were 4 pennies on top of the first penny we picked up. I'm probably overthinking it. I don't know. Money equals power, by the way, is actually really good with IV bag. However, we're gonna stick with Sprinkler because Sprinkler is a newer item, and IV bag probably is my default choice on like 10% of my runs. So I don't necessarily feel like we need to take it in every single situation. You know, in a lot of situations we're gonna do so, especially as Samson, it's like a 10 out of 10 item, but not in every situation here. We've managed to get very, very strong quite early on this run, so I'm thinking that we got the tools. We'll see. I don't know. Two clubs. Not that fantastic right now. I'm actually hoping, and I think I have a good excuse to get like a super overpowered run. Ideally not Mom's Knife, but this is like it's my Super Sweet 16, and I'm like, I don't want an Audi, Dad. I want an Lexus. Audis are so last year. I wanted a Caterham 7 Classic. That's right, I've played Project Gotham Racing. I'm familiar with the Nürburgring. We took way more damage there than we should have, but the speed upgrade is nice, and Krampus. Okay, so be smart here. Actually, we could die. I just wanted to essentially ruin his chance to push me into the fires that could kill me. Krampus's head we cannot take. At least I feel like we cannot take. I'm just looking for, obviously, the item room and the shop at this point. But, yeah, it's a little dicier than it had to be, and I'll take responsibility for that. Although, we did fight a fairly difficult boss. But, you know, I also accept that we haven't faced consequences for this yet. But I might just be off today. Like, my first run of the day was the run that we just did, and it was fairly bad in terms of my personal performance. For a lot of that run, it was like a 5 out of 10 run with like a 5 out of 10 performance stacked up next to it. Like, I think I actually should skip Bob's Brain. I know it's anti-Zane to do so, but I'm scared, dude. I took Bob's Brain in our last run, and I love it because I understand it. It's a valuable item as long as you don't put yourself in a position where it can screw you, but I think I might have put myself in a position where it can screw me. We'll see. Check the shop first. No Spirit Heart, but that's not that bad. We'll take Buddy in a Box, which I always get confused with Moving Box. I will take ownership, by the way, for getting confused about a lot of items in the game. Like Moldy Bread and Halitosis. You've seen the side-by-side shots. Those don't look that similar. That's my brain being, like, a little weird in that department. But Buddy in a Box and Moving Box are the same freaking icon. Side by side, you're like, okay, there are differences, but come on. I get it, you know, it's a box. How many different ways can you draw a cardboard box, right? But we have the cardboard box, Buddy in a Box, and the moving box. We need to institute, like, slightly different visuals for those if we're gonna get mad at people for getting them confused from time to time. It's just a complicated situation in terms of that. So we did spend, like, a damage upgrade's worth of damage. What do you think? Can it be up here? It could be up here. The second secret room, that is. I doubt it's down here. Yeah, let's just leave. But I digress, you know, because I doubt anybody's working on that. To be honest with you, there's just a lot of items that have very similar visuals. Is all I'm saying. I get it, you know. It's like a sprite hoarder sort of situation. You're like, oh, we don't throw out that sprite. If we just put another coat of paint on that, it could be worthwhile. And for the most part, it doesn't bother me, except when I'm trying to. There's actually exactly one situation in which it bothers me, and that's when I try to buy Buddy in a Box because I would like a familiar, and instead I end up getting Moving Box, which is like a chore that can sometimes pay dividends. Evil Eye is totally fine. I'm gonna, you know what? We shouldn't. I was gonna say I'm gonna try and like buy the card, see what the card has for us, but with Mud equals power, we probably should be a little bit more conservative about things. I'll admit. I don't know. This run seems like it's going just fine, although we found ourselves in that same situation on the last run as well. I'll have you know, by the way, look, I'm not saying all heroes don't wear capes, but I could be watching the NHL draft right now, aka one of the most boring sporting related programs in Earth's history, but dude, you never know. We could be witnessing the selection of the next Sidney Crosby or the next Patrick White. You know, they're both superstars in their own unique way. Okay, I mean, I'm gonna need you to stop trapping me in the corner here, ideally. I'm joking, of course. I mean, I have watched the NHL draft on many occasions. I always, every year, by the way, if for some reason this is a foreign concept, I don't know if it's done in every other sport, but I know it's done in most Western sports, or most sports in North America, let's say. Western is a strange term to use in that situation that I don't fully understand. It's like when players reach a certain age, everybody born in that age group, or within that age group, has a chance to be selected by a professional team with the better players, or the players who are presumed to be better going first. So, you know, basically you just watch for like 8 hours while, like, old men are increasingly brought up to the microphone. With the 5th selection in the 2017 NHL draft, the Vancouver Canucks select Cole Makar. Cole Makar. And then there's like polite golf claps, and then this kid comes up and he goes like, you know, I'm from the Finnish countryside. I've never heard of Vancouver. Do they have saunas there? Nothing personal, kid. They do not. They do have saunas here. I'm assuming, at least. I've never been to one myself, but I'm assuming it happens. You can get definitely Korean-style saunas, without a doubt. But anyway, I've watched it many a time in my life, and pretty much always been like bored out of my mind, despite actually, I wouldn't say I'm a hockey super fan, but I'm an educated hockey fan. I keep myself abreast of the prospect pool situation and, you know, development, and can name a couple of people in the Vancouver Canucks administration beyond the head coach and general manager. I'm just saying, it's not the most exciting event in sporting history. But I'm here selflessly doing my job instead of taking time off to watch something that I don't like that much. And you know what I am saying? All heroes don't wear capes. Or not all heroes wear capes. In fact, there's quite a lot of heroes that don't wear capes. It's a strange expression to begin with. Spider-Man doesn't wear a cape. That's the most obvious example, I think, of not all heroes wear capes. You ever seen Spider-Man? Sure, Doctor Strange wears a cape. Superman and Batman wear capes. The concept of a cape to begin with is like, isn't it like kind of a back fedora? At least in real life, but in a superhero context, no problem, I suppose. Dude, I need something more on this run. Ooh, I kind of like this, especially against Bighorn. We got double active item effect, which apparently when you double the sprinkler, 1 sprinkler times 2 equals 1 sprinkler. That's news to me, man. It's news to me. We have no deal with the Devil Precedent, so, I mean, we have no bombs as well. I would love to see a deal with the Angel, but I would, you know, hate to watch you leave. NL, are you just distracting us from the fact that you can't think of a second hero that doesn't wear a cape? Look, I didn't come here to be grilled. I came here to brag about not watching the NHL draft and to get my brownie points for it. Twitch.tv/Northernlion/subscribe. Thor wears a cape. Black Widow does not wear a cape. There you go. Captain America sometimes wears a cape. I don't know. I'm speaking specifically from a Marvel Cinematic Universe standpoint here. Captain America sometimes wears a cape, I believe. I'm thinking back to the Avengers Super Nintendo game as well. I think capes are just going out of style because it's not like the 1700s anymore. You know, I'm not making fun of these people, but it's going to be hard for me to relay the story without it seeming like I'm making fun of these people. There is a couple that lives in, and I genuinely am like, dude, as long as what you're doing does not harm me, I do not care at all. And I could not be more literal with my application of that. As long as what you're doing does not harm other people. But at the same time, to some extent, my brand is making fun of things that are socially a little strange, despite doing a few of them myself, although definitely not this one. So I reserve the right to make fun of this to some extent, I think, with the notion that it's also good-natured. There is a couple in Washington State, I believe it's Washington State anyway, that live their lives as if it's the Victorian era. Which, first off, why? On a logical level, that is actually borderline idiotic. And I'm not trying to be offensive here, but like, you ever heard of like the Spanish flu? Oh, dude, that was my hermit card. I think I'm just gonna bounce. Wiped out like, you know, 8% of the world's population because nobody freaking washed their hands. You know, that's just a microcosm. Sure, okay, some things were better in the Victorian era, I'm sure. But, you know, explain to me what in 500 words or less. But they went to Victoria, British Columbia, which is super close to upstate Washington, New York, or upstate Washington, New York. You see, I'm a very learned individual. I went to the University of Washington, New York. Maybe you've heard of it. Now, it's very close to, like, the northern part of Washington State. And it's, you know, a city of a certain size, so there's stuff to do there. There's a place called Butchered Gardens, which is like a botanical garden that's probably Victoria's #1 tourist thing, and they were wearing, like, their Victorian-era clothes. By the way, the reason this became a thing is because despite living as if it's the Victorian era, they also run a blog about what it's like to live as if you're in the Victorian era, which seems to me a very convenient compromise. It's like, oh yeah, I live as if it's the 1900s in every aspect of my life, except I do also run a blog that has advertisements on it. Luckily, I assume that they don't use the internet for anything else, so they shouldn't be able to understand that this article's coming to pass. Now, this is where I find out they have Twitter accounts with, like, triple my followers or something. But anyway, so it's kind of like a monetizable thing for them, which is fine. You know, I'm not gonna hate on your internet hustle. Look at me here playing Isaac instead of watching the NHL draft. But the point that I'm trying to make here is they went to Butchered Gardens dressed as if it's the 1900s. Oh, this is so theoretically worth it. And Butchered Gardens was like, you can't come in here, you're dressed like weirdos. And then they were like, well, that's very, you know, offensive of you to suggest. And they were like acting as if it was discrimination. And you know what? Here's the twist in the story. To an extent, I sort of agree with them. I understand the business arrangement from Butchered Gardens. There is a dress code to some extent. Like, you can't just show up wearing no shirt. And you can't just show up, you know, you probably can't show up in a shirt that says, like, you know, something super offensive or racist or something on it. I believe that they would reserve their right to deny you access to the establishment. But in this case, do I think that these guys are a couple of, you know, granola bars? I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Do I think that they're acting strange? Absolutely. I don't know. It does seem to be a little bit outrageous to suggest. I agree it would be a distraction to patrons, but, you know, if you're going to a botanical garden, you're, oh, look at this, it's an azalea from the 19th strata of the Holocene epoch. You know, it doesn't matter, is what I'm trying to suggest, because it's just stupid plants. But, no. What I'm trying to suggest is that, who cares if they're dressed a little funny? I really went into this bit thinking I was going to rail on these people, but it just seems like punching down to some extent for Butchered Gardens to be like, you're not allowed in here. But that's, maybe it's because that's also my anxiety sometimes. Like, Kate is stylish, genuinely, and like, when she dresses up, she dresses up. I don't really dress up. I'm like, okay, I take off the hoodie, put on a button-up shirt. I still only got sneakers. I'm not gonna get my dress shoes out of storage unless it's for, like, a special event. It's not like I have this, like, you know, Steve Jobs, I only wear one outfit sort of thing going on for productivity's sake. It's really just laziness and comfort, which I, you know, treat as very important values in my life, to be honest with you. More so comfort than laziness, but anyway. So sometimes we'll be going someplace fancy, and I'll be wearing, like, a button-up shirt and jeans, and I'm like, it would be embarrassing if they were like, you can't come in here wearing that. Like, you gotta put on a suit jacket. But I don't know if that sort of thing happens that much anymore. I've never been denied access to an establishment for my dress, I guess is what I'm trying to say. For the way I was dressed. I think, let's go with Counterfeit Penny. That probably allows us to buy more stuff. And let's use our bombs to actually stack up our damage here. By blowing our donation machine up, which I feel like no guilt about trying to make our donation machine pop at this point, because we got it back to 999. So I don't know. I guess I'm interested to see how other people feel about the situation as well, because although I think that their very strange adherence to a Victorian era of life is a little silly, I think for 3 cents I will... Basically, for 3 cents, we're going to get a value of 5 cents or more. So yeah, I feel okay about that. I think that it's strange. It's very strange to me. I see no, I don't know why you'd want to, you know, wash your clothes in a freaking wooden barrel with a washboard instead of using a washing machine. I mean, that seems very strange to me to deny that level of human convenience, but at the same time, I think that is your right. And admittedly, when you start pushing that as a message outwardly with your dress, I suppose you are open to judgment to some extent. But I'm just saying, if I was manning the ticket booth, or if I was the management, oh, that sucked, in charge of Butchered Gardens that day, I probably would have said let him in. It just seems like a petty thing to be up in arms about. I do want to ask them some questions, though, about the whole, we live as if it's the Victorian era, but we also have a blog. Because there's something to tease out there. I also want to know more about why the Victorian era, but let's be honest, I'm probably not the right kind of guy to treat this with respect. Given my track record on the NLSS. I mean, it's the same thing, like, there are people who dress, oh, that's pretty bad. There's people who dress up in, like, steampunk clothes all the time. And, like, I don't get it. I'm not actively against it, but, like, what, we're on Dank Depths XL. Have we been to both item rooms? I actually have no recollection whatsoever. We've definitely been to the shop, but I think I'm just gonna go because I have no idea. The other, let's get out of here. This is weird. But like, if you wore a top hat and some, you know, a weird set of monocles or something like that out to the botanical gardens, whose business is it of mine? Or, sorry, what business is it of mine is what I mean to suggest. It just seems like a little bit of pearl clutching to me. Now, if you're wearing a shirt that says, like, I don't know, I don't even want to suggest the kind of vile thing that I was gonna suggest, but something hateful. Yeah, I understand that. No, this is not Dank Depths XL. It's just Dank Depths 1. Your brain is broken right now. At least we've got Devil Precedent, so we can stand to get a little over the top soon, hopefully. Anyway, I digress. I think I've come across sort of more milquetoast than I expected in this example. I'm kind of on their side in that example and that specific example alone. Because for the most part, I'm like, that's mad weird. But don't let me stop you. I hope also, though, that this is not one of those things where I kind of come in support of them, and then later you're like, here's an awful thing that they said or did, and then you're like, oh, right, that happens. But in this specific situation, even if they do have some antiquated and archaic beliefs, I still think, unless they were outwardly offending patrons with their appearance on a reasonable level, they should have been allowed to go to the establishment. But also, it is kind of funny. It's a funny injustice, which is maybe not the most, you know, sympathetic way to phrase something, but you get the idea. You're like, yeah, I mean, they were in the wrong, but also sort of what'd you expect? What I'm getting at is that if you sympathized with me for any point during this conversation, what I've now done is just eroded that sympathy. I was gonna say symphony. It is an eroded symphony, this life. So that's basically the gist of it. That's the bit that I built at runtime here. Ooh, I do like golden bombs. Older than the Bible. Certainly golder than the Bible as well. At least most of the ones that I've seen. I don't have much biblical experience. That will not surprise you at all. My most recent biblical experiences, at least, Kate's parents are like a little religious. They go to church. I think they go to a Korean Christian church, but I don't know if they go like every Sunday. But there's an important holiday in the Korean calendar. Well, we know that's moving box, called Chuseok, which is basically like, it's not Yuseok. That's offensive, which is why I fell on the grenade of saying it. No, but it's called Chuseok, which is like American Thanksgiving, sort of. But it's also a time to honor, you eat a lot of good food, but you also honor your ancestors that have passed away. So it's like probably the biggest holiday in the Korean calendar, next to maybe even ahead of Seolnal, which is like Lunar New Year. But I know we spent a lot of money there. We got a lot of value, so I'm happy with the way that that went down. And when I go there, you know, it's a little bit of a culture shock. Like, they have pictures of their parents who are deceased up on, like, the dinner table, and you kind of, like, eat. You like, pour soju, maybe? I can't remember what it was, but you pour, like, it might have been tea, now that I think about it, but you pour, like, food and drink for the ancestors, and I'm just kind of sitting there like, this is... I feel like I'm intruding on something that I shouldn't be here for, but they're very, like, inclusive about it, which is nice. Very nice of them to do, of course, but it's so foreign from, like, the way that my family does things that it really feels like I'm there as, like, some kind of undercover journalist or something. And then they sing hymns, and they're accommodating to the point of it being, like, awkward for me to some extent, which is not about me. It's their day. I'm just saying, because they'll sing the hymns in Korean, and then they'll sing them again in English, and I don't sing either time. So I'm like, you really don't have to do that. Just sing it in whatever language you prefer, and we'd be good to go. But I do appreciate being so. Don't take my my listing of it as kind of strange. My describing of it is kind of strange to be a negative thing. I'm beyond thrilled that they've welcomed me into their family like that. At the same time, it's sometimes a bizarre event. So I'm gonna go ham here, basically. I'm very frightened about the way that this looks. We took piercing shots, and we took Demon Baby because if we're gonna take piercing shots, we basically get Demon Baby for free, so I would rather have it. Now, we have Bob's Brain as well, which is very scary to me. We're not going to die in one hit, but we could pretty easily die in 2 hits. Balls of Steel, so valuable here. So what is this card I've been holding on to? Strength. Strength is actually a very important card as well. We can use that for survival, but more likely for a Deal with the Devil access later. Really wish I had not come to this room, but we managed to make it out. I think we're gonna be fine. Provided we get out of this floor in a good spot, I think we're gonna be okay. This feels like, obviously, the exit here. Might be a good time to get rid of Sprinkler, but honestly, I'm still waiting for it to pop out of control. We haven't quite hit that level yet. I want, like, much faster rate of fire and good tier effects. And, Cough Cough Brimstone as well, but... we're gonna get Cube of Meat instead. We don't have those options despite buying like a lot on the last floor. So this floor has been insanely good to us. The problem is that it can look as good as it wants, but if we get hit, we're gonna be in a tight spot. Although Balls of Steel saved us a lot of that indignity. So I think maybe we're probably fine, but we're gonna move onwards nonetheless. And do so with caution because I'm a little scared here. You should also take it from me, like, I'm uncomfortable at my own family gatherings. Not, like, my close family, like, me and my parents, totally fine. No concerns. But at, like, extended family gatherings, I'm uncomfortable. And I say this not to act like it's the right way of doing things. If anything, I think it's a personal flaw. That I can't, I don't find it easy, at least, to, like, open myself up to people who I'm related to. Although, really, we don't hang out socially much beyond the, you know, Christmas, Easter, and Canadian Thanksgiving. But anyway, like, opening, especially as I got, like, to my teenage years, opening Christmas presents, not really complaining, but opening Christmas presents from people that you see, like, twice a year, and you're like, you didn't have to buy me this. This is just weird. You are, you know, you're like my dad's brother's 3rd child. We have like a 10-year age difference between us, and we never talk. Can we stop the charade of buying each other gifts that we just asked someone to give us a recommendation for what you want? And it's like, we don't, it's not the Stone Age. Family's very important, I think. You know, if you've got a great family, that's awesome. I'm very happy with my family. Like, even my extended family, they're not bad people. We just don't, we're not necessarily friends. Like, I consider myself basically a peer to my parents at this point, which is, like, the most robotic and awkward way to phrase that, but, like, we're adults, and we can hang out and have fun together, and that's super cool. You know, I'm extremely grateful for that, but, like, you know, the cousins in my extended family, we're not really, like, we're not kindred spirits, right? So, it's not the Stone Age. I don't have to rely on you to bring me grapes, and then you give me a bushel of grapes and I give you, you know, some peanuts from my peanut fields or something like that. We can all exist and, you know, keep in touch, but at the same time, we don't have to exchange the gifts. It's a tradition, but it makes no sense to me. We're just I would rather that the people buying me gifts, instead of spending, like, the hour or something that it might take to go out and get it, just spend time with your own close family and, you know, grow closer to them. That'll pay more dividends in the end than, like, oh, I gotta buy this guy I haven't seen in 2 years a gift, you know? But as I've gotten older, I'm not really complaining because we've sort of stopped buying gifts for my extended family, which is nice. But only because we're in this weird, like, all of my cousins and I are within, like, 10 years of each other's age. Which is good because we grew up, like, being almost peers, but we've entered the phase in which the whole family are all adults. So right now is a luxurious period where we go, we're beyond buying gifts for each other. We don't need to buy each other gifts. We're all adults here. We've all got jobs. You know, let's just enjoy each other's company. And that's great. It's been fun. But any year now, we're going to show up to the Christmas dinner and someone's going to be like, I'm pregnant. And then we've introduced one child into the Christmas atmosphere. And then you gotta buy, like, your first niece and nephew a gift. Your cousin just had a baby, you know, you can give them a $30 gift, you know, they get 2 hours of sleep a night, it's only fair. And then you give the first child a gift, you gotta give every child a gift, and then every child has to give, you know, get ready to give gifts to their own cousins later in life. I'm enjoying the lull, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You died, but you weren't even on the screen. I actually don't know what happened there. And you might think, I love that we have the mind here, by the way. You might think that I'm saying this in an effort to come across as superior, like, oh, I don't need tangible, you know, material possessions mean nothing to me. Rather, I'm bringing this up because it's awkward for me to get gifts because I find it difficult to be sincerely emotional around people I'm not that comfortable with. So, and I'm not saying sincerely emotional like crying, but even just sincerely pulling back the veil of millennial irony and going, thank you, this is a gift I'll genuinely use and I appreciate it, makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't know why. There's a whole, I doubt it's unique to me, but there's a whole, you know, dissertation to write on this, I'm sure, this phenomenon, but I find it difficult to be genuine with people that I'm not close to. It's very strange. And it's like a little sad, more melancholic than anything else, but that's why, like, the gift giving, and, well, the gift giving is also a little awkward, because I put myself in the gift receiver's shoes and go, well, I would be awkward receiving this right now, so I think that they might be a little awkward receiving this, and then we're both like, they're like, thank you, I really like it, and I'm like, oh, you didn't have to say that, and they're like, no, really, I do, and you know, it's okay, you know, you didn't have to say that, but, you know, we just wordlessly exchange, like, 3 nods, and we're like, our contract is complete for this year. See you next year, fellow weirdo, you know? How does Sprinkler Ludo work? The answer is, it doesn't. Okay. Dude. Unsung hero, Balls of Steel. Without Balls of Steel, we probably die. And we probably die... Wow, Pyromaniac, I forgot. We probably would have died way earlier than where we are right now. So, thank you for giving me the ability to talk a lot of nonsense in this episode, Balls of Steel, because were it not for you, I think we would be in a much scarier position. So thank you so much for your service. Helped me out an enormous amount. See, I can be more genuine to a line of code in this game than The other thing is that if I was honest when I received gifts about the level of use, it would reveal too much about my lifestyle. Like, if somebody gave me socks, I would be like, you don't understand, this is the greatest gift I could considerably ever receive, because I would never deliberately go sock shopping for myself. Really, the only opportunity I would ever have to buy socks apart from this would be if I was somehow in a Sears, which is now going out of business in Canada, and was like, you know, while we're here, I should get some socks. So you have saved me, not necessarily from sock shopping, but more likely from being in a position where I open up my hamper and go, there's no socks. And then I gotta, like, piece together 2 unmatched ones or something like that. So in a way, you have enabled my suboptimal domestic existence from a laundry standpoint to go onwards. And for that, I sincerely appreciate your gift. But hey, for now, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. And of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. But for now, thanks for watching. And I'll see you next time.